What's up, Banter fam? Welcome back to the show. In today's show, we are going to be discussing some altcoins that I think could run hot in December and look at my watch list for what projects, what narratives I think can outperform during the month of December 2022 and beyond. In yesterday's show, I did a part one where I ran through the first few altcoins that I think could perform. So if you missed that video, make sure to check that out after you watch this show. In today's show, arguably, I think it's even more alpha packed because we're going to be focusing more on the DeFi side of things, looking at the hottest DeFi narratives, looking at some of the hot narratives off the back of real yield, and look at the projects where I think some capital will start to rotate into. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed because I'm live every single day to give you guys the best alpha in crypto, and like this video as well because honestly, this video is quite alpha packed. I'm going to jam a lot into this show. I'm going to go more high level. I'm going to go much faster than usual. So I can cover more ground. And then next week, that's when we're going to be taking more time to deep dive into these projects specifically, so we can go further with our research. But I hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's show because I thought that was quite a good one. And really, these shows are based on the premise that despite market conditions, I do think there are altcoins that can decouple from the macro over the next few months. And we do know that Jerome Powell is starting to ease up on the rate hikes. His language is becoming more dovish. So potentially the macro does improve over the next few months. But in complete honesty, it doesn't really matter what the macro does because if you're in the right coins, if you're in the right narratives, you can actually outperform this market irrespective of what is happening to the macro environment. We've seen this across many altcoins over the last few months. Obviously, Arbitrum's been exploding. We've had GMX, GNS perform. We hit like a 4x on our G and S trade, which is performing well. Matic has been super resilient. Doge tripled in the space of a couple of weeks or doubled in price. So we've seen altcoins continue to outperform despite macro conditions being shaky. So if macro conditions do ease or get better, then the altcoins will outperform even more so. So really the onus is on us now to research, be in the right projects, look for those hot narratives, be quite proactive with how we're rotating capital. And that's exactly what I want to help you guys do in every single show. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Remember, yesterday is where I covered the first few hot altcoins heading into the month of December. This is part two, the more DeFi focused part. We're going to focus on more of the Arbitrum ecosystem and go down that rabbit hole a little bit, which I think is super exciting for a DeFi nerd like myself. That there is just so much to unpack here and it's really exciting. And I'm excited. I did a tweet just earlier. I'm excited to actually move forward and look at pushing the space forward, looking at new opportunities, looking at educating ourselves, making money in this market, and stop talking about SBF because, I mean, I was on the spaces for 4 hours this morning. It's been all SBF talk for the last few months, the last month since the FTX collapse. And I'm just really excited to get back into research, get back to focusing on what I enjoy, and that's DeFi and altcoins, and really move forward and stop focusing and wasting our energy on things we can't control. And the SBF situation is certainly something we can't control. So I'm going to spend less energy worrying about FTX, and I suggest you guys do the same, and more energy worrying about actually bettering ourselves and our own situation. So the first narrative I want to talk about is Curve. And so I'm just a little bit sick today, so I'm powering through the video, but the first narrative I want to talk about is Curve. If you guys don't know what Curve is, it's an AMM. Similar to other AMMs, you essentially provide liquidity through liquidity pools. It uses that to facilitate swaps. It has a model whereby if you lock up Curve tokens as VE Curve, then you get certain fees back that the protocol generates, as well as emissions. And if you own governance voting rights, so the more VE Curve you own on the platform, you can choose where emissions are directed. So you can choose what liquidity pools are boosted in terms of their APRs. That's the very simple rundown of what Curve is. Of course, it's an extremely complex ecosystem, but I think the ecosystem is getting a huge boost over the next few months as their Curve stablecoin has just been announced. And I do think this is a big catalyst for Curve, getting their Curve USD stablecoin actually onto the market. And look, this is quite a complicated white paper. It's very math heavy, and I'm not going to break down the exact mathematics of this white paper, but I will go more high level and explain what it does. So essentially, they're implementing something called Llama. This is at the center of the new Curve USD mechanism. What Llama is it follows the premise that instead of liquidating positions at once when collateral becomes insufficient on a loan position, they can design an AMM that liquidates positions gradually as the value of collateral declines. So Llama will automatically manage your position and sell off gradually as collateral designs as a risk management tool. And that is centering around the premise of the new stablecoin that they are launching. DeFi Made here did a very good thread. I've picked the last few tweets in this thread because I think they're most pertinent to the stablecoin. But he says that despite high trading fees, on average, liquidity providers on Uniswap are losing more than earnings from fees. So he's comparing Uniswap to Curve. He says Curve LPs, so people that stake in the liquidity pools, are sacrificing 50% of the fees for Curve rewards, which are falling in value, creating an adverse situation for Curve and Curve holders. While Uniswap business is not at risk at the moment and Uni's developing integrations to further increase its market share, Curve had to find a way to attract TVL and trading volume back to the platform, and Curve found it. Curve USD. So essentially, the Curve stablecoin is their way of attracting new TVL as the model was starting to dry up, that emissions model. Curve USD is one way that they can get people back onto the platform and attract TVL, get trading volume back, and that is one way that they can increase fees to the Curve, the VE Curve stakers or the Curve stakers. DeFi Made here says, don't get me wrong, I do not consider Curve USD to be the best stablecoin in the space. Nor do I think it is, by the way, personally. But he thinks it does solve a few problems, which is bring more liquidity into Curve, increase revenue for VE Curve, which is very important because the stakers are the ones earning the revenue. So you need to find ways to incentivize people to stake. That is how the token accrues value at the end of the day. And 3, increase trading volume. All of those goals will be accomplished with the Curve USD design. And I do think this is why, if it does succeed, Curve USD will be a bullish catalyst for Curve. And I definitely wouldn't fade Curve off the back of this USD narrative. There are a few question marks, though. DeFi Moon says, although we have high-level details, we don't have many details on the minting fees plus interest, how revenues will be distributed. I don't necessarily think this is a negative. I think over the next few weeks, we'll get a lot more clarity as to how they will be distributing fees, and that can give us a more informed decision as to what we do with our Curve tokens. However, I do think that it will clearly be geared towards benefiting and accruing value for those VE Curve holders. They aren't stupid. The team at Curve is actually very smart, and they're constantly shipping great products. And honestly, Curve is really the linchpin of the entire DeFi ecosystem. Just a couple interesting facts about Curve before we go on to Arbitrum, which I know is the hot topic of today's video. It's the hot topic everyone's talking about, but I just want to finish up on Curve for a second. It's very interesting that 48% of all Curve in supply is actually locked up for VE Curve. That's significantly less tokens on the market than we typically see from governance models like Curve Protocol. And this is quite interesting because this essentially boosts through the gauge liquidity. And the other thing is people are starting to prepare themselves for Curve USD, because when you look at how to get Curve USD or how to benefit from Curve USD, from the increased revenue that it can potentially offer, obviously that's through staking Curve. And we are seeing some big whales starting to stake a lot of Curve. We saw a whale on the 26th of November, a week ago, locked 10 million Curve tokens in anticipation of the Curve USD launch. So we are starting to see some whales come to the fray and get involved as well. So as I said in yesterday's video, the narratives I'm talking about now, they aren't necessarily buy signals. I'm more kind of trying to give you those initial ideas to get the wheels turning in your head, get you thinking, and push you in the right direction of how to think about spotting new narratives. And hopefully now this can provide you guys with some ideas, and you can go off and do your own research on these things. So I'm just saying, definitely look into the Curve ecosystem. That's something that I have got my eye on. And personally, not financial advice, I do like the Curve token itself. I actually view it as a decent long-term hold as well, not just a short-term rotation play as some of these other altcoins may be. Certainly, though, I think the biggest topic of today's video and the ecosystem we have to cover when we talk about hot December narratives, it's Arbitrum, because Arbitrum is taking over right now. We've seen the stats on Arbitrum absolutely exploding over the last few months. Let's just look at a few of the stats to frame just how much traction Arbitrum is gaining. The number of unique contracts and unique wallets is going vertical. We could see an absolute explosion in unique contracts deployed on the Arbitrum chain, and we can see an explosion in the wallet addresses as well. Daily transactions are almost at an all-time high. It's doing 727K daily transactions on a weekly average, which is crazy. And the moving average of daily active addresses is 0.9K, which is massive. It makes it a top 3 chain in crypto for active addresses. Arbitrum is now the 5th in TVL rankings for the first time. Market share of TVL has grown by over 2x since the beginning of the year. And look at the TVL stats here. Arbitrum now has $4.5 billion locked in the ecosystem. If we go into DeFi Llama and compare that to other chains, we can see that Arbitrum is now a top 5 chain for TVL, one of the only chains to actually increase its TVL over the bear market. So it's very clear that Arbitrum is gaining significant traction. And one of the major reasons why this is happening, in fact, I'd say there's a few reasons. Firstly, it's fast and it's a lot more efficient than chains like Matic. 2, it's an L2 solution, and L2 solutions, obviously, with Ethereum's current gas fee issues, are gaining a lot of traction and probably can continue to do so over the next few years. And the third point is that there is potentially an upcoming airdrop, and a lot of people through the Arbitrum Odyssey campaign that is occurring right now are being incentivized to interact with the dApps on Arbitrum, interact with the Arbitrum network itself, bridge funds to Arbitrum to potentially get this airdrop, and 2, participate in the incentives campaign that Arbitrum Odyssey is offering. And that's one of the major reasons why we've seen Arbitrum gain in traction. And honestly, it's pretty exciting as a whole for Arbitrum. The airdrop's coming soon. I do have a thread on how you can potentially position yourself to get the airdrop, although this was over a month ago, and honestly, by now, the likelihood of the snapshot already being in is significant, so maybe this isn't really worth your time anymore. However, there's no Arbitrum token right now, so if you want to invest in Arbitrum, you can't, of course, but you can invest in the ecosystem. So I want to look at some of the ecosystem projects which could potentially benefit off the back of the Arbitrum hype, because the Arbitrum token may not be coming until next year. We don't know exactly when it is coming, actually. It could be Q1, could be Q2. So I think it's best to look at the ecosystem and look at the app layer, which is where most of the users will end up going. Because if you're using Arbitrum, you're not just using the chain itself. Of course, like any L1, you're actually using the apps. So the best apps are the ones that are going to accrue the value here. And I've got a few in particular, which I think are starting to gain some traction and have big announcements in December, which is why they're making this December watchlist video. The first one's Gains Network. They are getting a launch on Arbitrum this month. Very overbought, I think, in terms of price. I love Gains as a product, but at all-time highs of $4.20. It does look like it is a little bit high, so not one I'm aping into today, but they are getting an Arbitrum launch, of course. Trader Joe, another platform that is launching on Arbitrum. We saw Beats, the Phantom protocol launch on Arbitrum. So clearly a lot of protocols from other chains that are less quiet during the bear market, they're now starting to realize the benefits of being on a hot chain with lots of usage like Arbitrum. So Trader Joe is joining. Neither of these, I do think, are optimal in terms of gaining exposure to Arbitrum itself, but a project that I do think could be optimal in this respect is Umami. Now, what Umami Finance is it similar to what Yearn Finance is doing, which is offering vaults and gauges for you to earn yield on crypto via executing yield farming strategies. That's the simple way of describing it, but they are essentially a yield platform, not fake yield, not fake yield from just pumping your Umami tokens into supply and juicing up these crazy APRs. This isn't 2021 anymore. This is a real yield project that aims to execute yield strategies to generate what I would consider real yield. Why I'm mentioning it in today's video is because their V2 Vault is launching soon. So their V2 Vault has been hard in progress and is finally launching. This tweet does a good job at explaining what it is. It is on the audio, which I can't route right now because I don't have my roadcaster on me. But if you want to check it out, go onto Umami's Finance Twitter, watch the clip which explains what the new vault is, but it does have some cool features. Essentially, what it is if you stake Umami, you can receive rewards in the form of wrapped ETH or USDC, and they're also launching an upcoming Delta Neutral vault. Delta Neutral means they hedge against the long or short exposure that position may have in order to offer a net zero exposure to the underlying position and pay out purely based on the yield. Delta Neutral strategies are something that can allow you to lower your principal risk, especially during bear markets. I think that's important when executing DeFi. So to the people that do like Delta Neutral strategies, we're going to get a strategy on GMX. So obviously they're going to use GMX to use perps to hedge short or long, and also Tracer DAO to offer roughly 20% in USDC. Umami's very cool though, because they're constantly shipping products. They're constantly shipping vaults. constantly shipping new products, and the ones that are really quick onto these new vaults actually end up historically doing quite well. Umami had that crazy vault that was running for like 6 months, paying out 20% on stablecoins, and that was until they closed the vault, that was highly profitable. So Umami's they have a good team in my opinion. They just actually doxed the team, which is a great sign because they were undoxed. That was one of the red flags that I pointed out previously when speaking about Umami. That kind of concerns be put to rest, as they have announced the team behind Umami now, and they're being transparent about that. And also, Haim is coming to the team. Apparently, he is a giga brain, very respected guy in the DeFi community. He's actually joining the Umami team. So very, very smart minds behind Umami, and I wouldn't fade it. It's a very small project, though. What's the market cap of Umami? It's extremely small, 21 times a million. I mean, probably around the $21 million fully diluted, if we're just doing a bit of napkin math right now. I need to look at the exact circulating supply. I do believe it's around half that. So let's conservatively put it at a roughly $10 million valuation. So it is quite a small cap, but it is one that's getting lots of cool upgrades as the kind of Arbitrum season continues to kick off. The TLDR on Umami, though, is no emissions, $20 million market cap, fully diluted. He actually states that it is fully diluted. CoinGecko doesn't have those stats available. If that's the case, that's even better. I need to look into that, though. Pays real yield in ETH to stakers, delta neutral vaults in USDC, ETH, and Bitcoin that auto compound. FTX, obviously, with the whole distrust with centralized exchanges, getting real yield on DeFi exchanges is quite palatable. It's an easy sell in this market, and it's also something that I think a lot of users are striving after right now, and obviously no questions behind that logic either. So clearly, this is going to put an emphasis on great DeFi protocols, which I believe Umami is probably one of them, and it's an institutional ETH staking product that can offer some nice vaults to stake Ethereum. So that's a TLDR on Umami. So following on from the Arbitrum narrative, I think the second token, which is at the forefront shipping new products in December, that is on Arbitrum, is Dopex. So Dopex is a very, very, very cool project in my opinion. And what Dopex essentially is, it's on Ethereum and Arbitrum, by the way. It's an options trading platform. So if you don't know what options are, it allows you to buy a put option or a call option to purchase a specific asset at a future date at a specific price, or sell an asset at a future date at a future specified price. So it allows you to short and long without having principal exposure. All you have exposure to is the call option. For a lot of traders, this could offer some benefits because it's slightly more capital efficient, and it means you don't have to necessarily have as much net exposure to a certain position at any given time. You just have the exposure of the call or the put options. Options trading is something that typically experienced traders execute because these strategies are very good for risk management, often on a slightly bigger scale than retail. Part of the reason why I don't think Dopex ever got the traction that I think it can thus far is because options isn't really a retail product. In traditional markets, we see that linear progression from spot trading, and then those traders typically progress to perpetuals, and which is where I think most of us sit as traders. And then the next phase in traditional finance, and I think what's going to happen in crypto as well, is people will migrate from perpetual exchanges to options exchanges because as the ecosystem becomes more complex, as more institutional clients come into crypto, demand for options trading increases because it's a very important strategy that needs to be implemented, especially if you're dealing with a lot of capital and you're interested in risk management, which I think we all should be interested in. Be interesting to see whether retail also starts to use options products. I'm personally starting to trade a little more options on Derivatives. Dopex is a way to do it as well through their straddle vaults. And if you don't want to trade through a centralized exchange, then if you're going to trade options, then doing it through Dopex makes sense. But a few major updates. So I can explain what options trading is on a later date. I think a few major updates which make it pertinent to today's December narrative video is they're launching perpetual trading onto the options exchange, which is obviously what GMX and GNS is doing. They're doing it slightly different, so that it's not just going to be raw perps. It's going to be option perpetuals, so you can trade options using perpetuals, which is very, very cool. So it's not a GMX fork. It is a proprietary product, which I think is going to be quite cool as well. We've seen the statistics really tilt in Dopex's favor, with unique holder addresses hitting over 160,000 unique addresses recently. A lot of people are now starting to catch on to this Dopex narrative, and I don't blame them because Arbitrum's hot. Clearly, a lot of people are chasing the projects that could benefit from Arbitrum, as you can't get an Arbitrum token directly. And I do think that Dopex is one of those protocols. Rect Diomedes, a creator that I really respect in the DeFi space on Twitter, says, I'm a big fan of Dopex. DeFi options have never been a big narrative, as I explained before, because of smooth brains like me that don't use options. It's a good point. Options are typically an institutional / more experienced type of product. However, he remains super bullish on Dopex in large part because they are such gigabrain builders. Again, I feel like they're another protocol that has the infrastructure plus flexibility to thrive no matter what direction DeFi goes over the next couple of years. And I think this is an important point. Like Umami, you want to be betting on projects that are building and are constantly shipping code. And that is probably the number one prerequisite in the bear market beyond runway constraints. It's projects that are constantly innovating, shipping code, building, and Dopex is definitely one that's doing that, and we can see this exemplified by now launching perp options, by launching their straddle Atlantics options vaults, and Dopex V2 as well, which is soon coming out. I was going to go through what our Dopex is, but it's very complex, and I actually think I'm going to park this one for the next video. But a very quick TLDR is that Dopex actually has two tokens. You have the Dopex token, which is the governance token, and the protocol fee accrual token. Think of this very similarly to what like the Curve token would be, or the FXS token would be on Frax. It's your governance token. You stake it, you lock it, it accrues value. Quite simple. And then you've got R Dopex, because they use a dual token model, which is their rebate token. And this is used for protocol usage. Essentially, the R Dopex token is a rebate system. So it accrues value from the rebates taken on the platform. Complicated, and I'm going to need to go over it in probably its own video because it's a very complex topic, but the TLDR is it gives Dopex value accrual and creates a positive feedback loop for liquidity to grow, as the more people that are using these vaults, the more the R Dopex token can gain in value. With the launch of V2, are Dopex utilities more important than Dopex is what, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I'm going to call him Shaman, says. In theory, our Dopex should be at a minimum the same market cap as Dopex. It's a big call, by the way, considering it's 2x lower right now. And with the kicking utility coming in to create the synthetic assets for Dopex USD, IMO, it has much bigger upside potential. So the token is R Dopex. Let me just show you it. And if I was investing in Dopex today, I would go 50-50 Dopex and R Dopex, because the rebates give you exposure to the amount of users using the platform, because it accrues value via fees or rebates, so to speak. Whereas the Dopex token itself, it accrues off the flat base layer percentage fees that Dopex takes, and also has that staking mechanism as well. So for me, I wouldn't want to miss out on exposure to either. So if I was investing in Dopex today, I'd go half and half Dopex and Dopex rebate, or maybe 60-40, 70-30. It really depends on what you prefer. But this is definitely not one that I would fade because, potentially it has higher upside being at a 2x lower valuation than Dopex as well. So some very cool stuff coming out of Dopex. And that's one of the reasons why I think it could be a narrative that runs in December and beyond. It's clearly one that's gonna come to fruition at some point, because options, just in my opinion, it's a no-brainer that options exchanges eventually, it's actually painful talking about it because I have so much conviction that options exchanges are needed, especially decentralized options exchanges, but it's just one that's going to take time because the market just probably isn't in a place that's ready to accept it right now. Like if we look at what DEXs are doing really well right now, it's GMX, it's GNS, it's perpetual exchanges, and they're not even order books. They're Oracle-based exchanges, which isn't, in my opinion, the long-term solution to DEX trading. We're going to need protocols that have more in-house liquidity. And I know technically GLP on GMX is the liquidity provider, but what I mean is price discovery. I want DEXs that have equal or at least similar liquidity to centralized exchanges. So we do see unique price discovery on DEXs and that don't necessarily rely on pure Oracle driven data from from the exchanges. But that's okay because GMX, GNS, I know they're going to continue to evolve over time. And I'm speaking from a very long-term perspective on where I see DEXs playing out over a 5-year period. But I see options coming into the fray as well. And that's why I think Dopex was relevant to mention in today's video. By the way, it's surprising we only have 300 viewers right now because I don't know if you guys realize, but I'm dropping so much alpha at the moment, in my opinion. Like, this is some serious stuff. Like, other YouTubers, they're going to tell you about the L1s. They're going to give you basic bullshit about, I don't know, about tokens you've heard about a million times. They're going to tell you to buy Doge. They're going to tell you to buy Solana and ETH. You hear that a million times. My show is dedicated to like actually giving you alpha, like things that are in the next few months, gaining traction, shipping code, cool projects that genuinely can outperform irrespective of macro. That is what I want to do every single day. So if you are watching my show and supporting, thanks for being here right now. I'm not streaming at my regular time because the SBF thing took up a few hours of our morning, so I had to bump it back. So that probably explains the lack of viewers today. But to the ones that are watching, I hope you're enjoying because you guys are getting the real alpha, and I hope everyone else is watching at least afterwards because I don't think you can afford to miss out on and completely just close your eyes and be ignorant of the fact that the Arbitrum narrative is strong and is only going to continue to gain strength over the next few months as we approach the Arbitrum token launch. If you do want to copy, by the way, any of my portfolios, I am starting to build DCA portfolios on Nested. I'm going to build an Arbitrum one next week. The reason I haven't done it today is because I'm doing an Arbitrum video next week, which is straight Arbitrum. That's going to be what Arbitrum is, best projects on Arbitrum, like going more deep into the ecosystem. And then next week, I'm going to launch my Arbitrum portfolio. But right now, I already have my Polygon portfolio, which has GNS, which we're up 12% on, has Link, which we're up 22% on. In fact, we're up on all these tokens. Also, I have some stable coins in here, which is still the majority of the portfolio because we're DCAing slowly over time. We're not DCAing all at once. We're DCAing slowly, and we're going to take a very measured approach to investing in the bear market. So if you do want to join along and DCA with me, the first link in the description is to Nested. 2 lucky copiers are going to win $1,000 that join and copy these portfolios. Hopefully we do that giveaway next week for the guys that are wondering when we're doing that giveaway. But until then, you have time to copy one of my portfolios, join along, and obviously whenever I make a trade, you're going to get notified and you can copy trade as well through Nested. So it's very simple. You can deposit through Visa, stable coins, whatever you want. I've got a BNB portfolio, which we're also up on. The Polygon portfolio, and then I'm also going to launch an Arbitrum one, which is probably going to include Umami, probably going to include Dopex. I need to do the maths on exactly what my weighting is going to look like, but that's launching next week. That's quite exciting. But for now, you can 100% copy on my Polygon one because there's I think some pretty good projects in here. We DCA'd into Vulcan Forge yesterday on the show, already at 1% on that spot trade, which is quite nice as well. I know not all of you trade spot though. Some of you trade perpetuals. So I wanted to give you one last option for trading perpetuals if you wish to do so, and that is Apex. They're the official sponsor of the show. They are a perpetual DEX. They operate on layer 2 to give you a faster user experience through ZK Sync. They're non-custodial, so unlike FTX, they're not going to steal your funds. You literally have your funds in your own wallet. So I do see the value in trading through a DEX because you maintain your own funds, but you can still trade perpetuals. Right now, you can trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, Atom, or XRP. So if you want to trade there, they are actually currently doing a very, very big trade to earn campaign. So they're giving away $200,000 worth of weekly trading rewards, millions of dollars over the next few months to traders. So the more you trade on the platform, the more you're going to earn. So if you're going to trade Bitcoin, let's say on BYBIT, why not consider moving it across to your wallet, your MetaMask wallet, and trading on Apex and actually earning rewards to trade? I mean, it's a no-brainer in my opinion, at least while this promotion's still running. So link in the description as well to Apex to sign up and get involved trading over there. You could, as I said, it's like an option, an alternative to, let's say, your GMX, your GNSs, where you can actually trade on a DEX exchange. So I want to answer some questions now. I'll answer like 2 off the YouTube video, and then I'll answer a few on Instagram. I'm going to go live on Instagram simultaneously whilst I answer a couple questions on YouTube, and then you guys can join me on Instagram. Link in the description to my Instagram, or Miles_Deutscher, where we can continue to discuss. Someone said, how is the Apex token doing? Let's have a look at the token. I'm not promoted, by the way, to shield the token. We're more so focusing on the exchange and the product itself. Seems to be up 2% today. The Apex token is, wow, actually performing quite strongly. I know that looks weak, and it is significantly down, but I say strongly over the last couple of weeks. Actually, to be fair, it is down 14% versus the rest of the market, so it's not strong in dollar terms, but it's also not gone to zero either. So, $16 million market cap. Yeah, I don't know much about this token itself. All I know is that technically it's up since inception. So I guess it is strongly. I don't know. It depends what time frame you're on. If you're on the long time frame, it's performing strongly. If you're on a short time frame, it's been shaky. But technically, it actually is still in an uptrend. And actually, it has made a higher low of my very basic CoinGecko TA right now. What about DogeCoin outlook? DogeChain outlook? I have a DogeCoin outlook. I don't know if I have a DogeChain outlook, because the thing is with DogeChain, it is, I mean, it's full of rugs, Ponzi's, and hype. And I think hype definitely can make you money in the short term, but hype in the long term isn't the most sustainable. I think the one issue with DogeChain as a token itself is this: 13 billion tokens currently in supply, 200 million to be released. Clearly a highly incentives based chain. So DogeCoin, though, I think it's a very different discussion. I actually don't mind DogeCoin as a long-term hold. In fact, I think it's not a bad token to hold long-term. And that might sound crazy from a very fundamentally driven DeFi perspective, that I like DogeCoin, but you just really can't fade meme culture in crypto. And all it takes is one Elon Musk tweet or one Dogecoin payments integration, or at least even just a rumor of a payments integration to moon the Dogecoin price. So I never really hated Dogecoin. Target price to GMX in the next 24 months. That's quite a hard one. I wouldn't be buying GMX today. Obviously, this video is non-financial advice. Make your own decisions. But GMX right now, it seems like a very overcrowded trade. And to be honest, I've taken some profits on GNS recently because I just view it as like it's a very hot narrative. And we know how narratives go in crypto. They come, they go, things are hot, and then they aren't. Like I'd much rather buy this when it's less hot. It feels like it'll never come down. I can almost assure you that's not the case. It probably will come down. Long term, I do like GMX, but it does have risks. GLP is clearly a huge risk, exploitation risk. I'm also not sure that perp dexes are like the long term solution. Because they're Oracle based, and that comes with its own issues. However, it is hard to deny, as a top 3 fee generating protocol, that GMX has not been a success from a real revenue generating perspective. So I obviously like the protocol because the stats don't lie, but its valuation versus what you're getting in terms of upside probably isn't the best right now. I think there's better tokens. What about DYDX? Nibor, you read my mind. As a long-term hold, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that DYDX, it's a Hail Mary, in my opinion. It's either going to succeed or go to zero, as probably a lot of altcoins will, so that's not exclusive to DYDX, but it's either going to be massive or it's going to fail, and I think it's a great bet, because if it succeeds, there's no doubt it will be higher than the current $250 million market cap in the future. They're building their own chain. They're a lot more flexible. They're a lot more composable than these other perp dexes because of the inherent benefits that having your own chain gives you. So I view DYDX as one that you could probably DCA into over the next year, hold with a very long-term time horizon. And if their mission succeeds, and we know their team is fantastic, then DYDX is going to be probably one of the best performers in crypto. If it fails, though, which it definitely can, it can also perform very, very badly and go down 99%. So it's an all-or-nothing trade, but it's also one with asymmetric risk, because DYDX is a project that, as I said, if it succeeds, it goes massive, right? So I don't mind putting... In fact, I'm DCAing actively into DYDX over the next year, because I really, really, really think that if it succeeds, it can do big, big things, and it can hit a $50 and $100 billion valuation. That's not I know that sounds crazy, but do some more research into DYDX. Actually look at what they're building. I think you'll be blown away. But as I said, risky trade, right? It's not like you'd want to hold more than 2% of your portfolio in DYDX. It's got to be money you're willing to lose. Airdrop of DYDX could be profitable as well. Yeah. All right, cool. I'm going to switch over to my Instagram now and continue this kind of Q&A style. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll be live starting again on Monday, 7 p.m. EST. We're getting back consistent with the streams. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for the support on the shows as well. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And yeah, looking forward to bringing you guys some more alpha over the next few weeks. And yeah, head over to Instagram now. link in the description. Give me a follow as well if you're not already following me. And we'll pick up this discussion. See you later. Peace.